Core games suck. This isn't clickbait. I'm not going to start talking about how, no, but that's what makes them good or something like that. They actually just suck. But before writing a angry comment, at least hear me out. Because this isn't coming from someone who hates the genre. It's coming from someone who wants these games to be good. But why do we even care about core games? Well, the idea of core games is awesome. You're dropped into a massive facility. Everything feels important. There are systems that need to be maintained, monitored, and understood. And that's exactly why it hurts when after an hour or two, there's just nothing left to do. Let's just use QSERF as an example because it perfectly represents the genre. You start the game. The first thing you notice is the scale. The map is huge. There's a sense that you're inside something complex and powerful. You explore a bit. You slowly find your way to the reactor control room. And when you finally get there, it feels kinda earned. You start interacting with the systems, you flip a few switches, you monitor the numbers, you keep everything stable. For a moment, it feels like you're doing a real job. But then something happens. You realize this isn't hard. Not because you're improving or anything really, it's just easy. There's not really a learning curve, you're not improving at all. Once you've learned it, that's basically it. So you start thinking, how can I make this fun? And of course your first thought is big explosion equals fun. So you cause a meltdown, you explode everything. But why does it always end with exploding everything? You know, it's easy to blame the players for this, but if your game gives players no long-term goal, they will create their own. Exploding the reactor becomes content because the game doesn't offer anything else. Failure isn't punishing, it isn't something you reflect on, it's just a reset button with a cool visual. This is the core issue with core games. You see what I did there? You don't go from learning, struggling, to mastering, and then adapting back to struggling again. You go from learning straight to boredom. There's no real reason to keep playing, there's no new mechanics to learn, no upgrades to get, no progression of any sorts. Without that, a game has no lifespan. A game being too hard can be a bad thing, yeah. If a game is unfair, poorly explained, or just punishes you for no reason, that does suck. That's not fun difficulty. But honestly, a game being too easy is way worse. When a game is too hard in a fair way, it gives you something to work towards. There's a learning curve. You don't just understand everything instantly, and that's the point. You fail, you mess up, things go wrong, but every time you understand a little more than you did before. And when you finally improve, it actually feels rewarding. Not because the game told you you did well, but because you know you did something better than last time. A hard game gives you a reason to keep playing. It gives you a reason to think about what you did wrong and how you can improve and what you could do differently next time. A game that's too easy doesn't do any of that. If everything just works the first time, there's nothing to learn, nothing to master, and of course nothing to look forward to. You hit that point where your brain just kinda checks out, and once you're bored, especially in a core game, we already talked about what happens. You stop caring, you start messing around, and eventually you blow everything up. Because that's the only way left to create any sort of excitement. The Reactor is a good example of what core games could be. It's one of the few core games with a real progression loop. It has upgrades that you can buy between shifts, there's money, so you can try breaking less next time to earn more money. Each shift gets harder due to the increase in quota, but each shift also adds new gameplay mechanics, new things to learn and keep an eye on. The Reactor can be a bit too hard, I will admit. I found myself exploding it over and over myself before looking for a guide on YouTube. That isn't perfect either, since you should be able to learn a game without outside help. But finally not exploding it felt way more rewarding than instantly understanding everything there is to know in QSERF. Even if you've beat the Reactor, you can still play it again while trying to earn more money or trying a challenge like Hell Shift, where you basically need to complete shift 3 but everything needs to be broken at the end. And it's still in its early stages, it lacks content for sure, but it's already miles above what other core games offer, and it's sad to see. Imagine every setting in core games, the super cool worlds that they offer, but with real gameplay loops, with a reason to play them for any longer than 30 minutes. In the Reactor, failure teaches you. You don't think, oh that was funny. You think, okay, that's what I did wrong. That mindset shift is everything. It turns the game from a sandbox into an actual game. But while core games having a gameplay loop is rare, the Reactor isn't the only game trying to do this. Recently I got to test an early version of a game that someone is making. It's called Absolute Peak. It's inspired by TRG and it's in a really early stage of development, so it means a lot to me that I got to try it out. But basically the concept is that the game is split into shifts like the Reactor. You get a power quota that you need to meet. Only difference is the game is infinite. The quota keeps increasing and your bills keep getting more expensive. To counter this, you can use your profits to buy upgrades and improve the facility, of course to be able to earn more money. So basically a core game mixed with something like Repo or Lethal Company. And the crazy thing is, it's not even on Roblox, it's on itch.io. So if the idea sounds interesting, I'll leave a link in the description. This isn't an ad or anything, I actually just think it's a really cool concept and that it has a lot of potential. And for reference, don't expect anything crazy, it's being made by one guy and he's been working on it for around 2 months. It's not near being done, but honestly I thought he had spent closer to half a year to even a full year working on it based on my personal experience. So circling back to the beginning, I'm not saying core games suck out of hate for the genre. I'm saying it because they could be so much better. They have so much potential that's going to waste, and I'm saying it in hopes of seeing a change. To see core games become better. Not because they're a bad idea. They don't suck because they're a bad idea. They suck because they're unfinished ideas. They build these amazing worlds and then forget to give you a reason to stay in them. Core games aren't realistic anyways, so let's at least make them fun. Give players something to learn, something to master, something to come back for. Because when core games are good, they're really good. And that's exactly why this is so frustrating. Anyways, thank you for watching. Please do consider subscribing if you liked the video. Bye. Okay, so for the first question, hello video game developer, please state your name and confirm that you are in fact the creator of the video game also known as Absolute Peak.
Yeah, I'm Buzzsaw and I'm the creator of Absolute Peak.
Okay.
It's a weird ass way to say it, but
what emotions did you intend the human player to experience while interacting with Absolute Peak? And were these emotions successfully installed?
I wanted people to feel fear. I wanted them to fear for their lives. And I'd say that's been pretty successful. So far I've put like a virus in someone's computer, so yeah, that was pretty fearful for them.
I can imagine. Okay, so Absolute Peak appears to be inspired by a video game called The Reactor. Please explain how this inspiration process occurred without using the word
No, no, no,
copy.
no, 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 no. You have it all wrong. See, I Absolute Peak is a completely original concept.
Oh,
I don't know where you got this from. Like,
okay. Well, moving on then. On a scale from 1 to 10, how difficult was it to make the game and why was the answer surprisingly difficult?
I don't think the answer was surprisingly difficult. What do
No, the
are
answer
you
is surprisingly
expecting?
difficult.
Okay, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so
it was
you
pretty
think it was
difficult.
surprisingly difficult?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Let's say that.
If Absolute Peak suddenly became extremely popular overnight, what would your immediate developer reaction be?
That's easy. Charge everyone for everything. You want to start the
Hmm.
reactor? That's a microtransaction. You want to, buy an upgrade? That's real money you have to spend.
Oh.
So I would do that, get everyone's money, and then just leave.
Oh,
Never be
well,
heard from again.
if
Probably,
that
probably live in
actually
the woods.
happens, I might actually have an idea for you there. So you know how a phone you get a step counter? What if you could have that, but where you have a limited amount of steps, and every time you run out of steps, you need to pay. I can just imagine you needing to run over and fix something, but you run out of steps midway, so you have to pay like, let's say, $5 to fix it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I might use that actually, but it was my original idea.
oh,
You didn't have a part in it, so I
of
don't have to give
course.
you any of the
Yeah,
money.
yeah. Okay, so next question. Please describe your target audience. Are they core gamers, mentally resilient individuals, or people who enjoy pain?
I think that core gamers and people who enjoy pain are kind of the same, but I'd have to go with core gamers.
Okay, I see. If you were forced to remove one part of the game forever, which part would you delete, and how much would it emotionally damage you?
You can't do this to me, man. I guess I'd have to remove the part where when you leave the game, everyone else hears, "Oh, my PC." But
Oof.
it's not the most important part, but it's the most meaningful part to me.
That would emotionally damage you?
It would emotionally damage me. I
To be
don't think
honest,
I
that's
could
my
ever
favorite part
recover.
of the game, so I might also start crying if you remove that. So final question. Finally, do you believe Absolute Peak is ready for human consumption in its current state? Please answer honestly.
I mean, it's public right now, so I get did you AI